welcome to Housing TV News at the top of the hour, coming to you from our studios here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Joseph Johnson, our top stories. Stakeholders applaud President Tinubu over new Joint Admission Matriculation Board Registrar. Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority suspends enforcement against indebted airlines. Experts call for urgent reforms in property sector. And on the foreign scene, explosion targets train in Pakistan, leaves scores dead. Now the news in details. Stakeholders in the education sector have commended President Ebola Tinubu over the appointment of Professor Segun Oino as the new registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB. The appointment has attracted wide attention across education, policy and technology circles, with many describing it as a strong endorsement of youth inclusion, merit and innovation in public service. The presidency said the appointment reflects the administration's commitment to building efficient, transparent and future-ready institutions through merit-driven leadership. Observers also noted that Professor Aino's experience in examination systems, technology and institutional reforms positions him to strengthen Nigeria's education assessment framework at the critical period for the sector. Stakeholders expressed optimism that his leadership would drive innovation, transparency and improved service delivery within the nation's tertiary admission system. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has elected Akinteye Babatunde Hafiz as its new national president. Hafiz emerged victorious at the association's convention held in Abuja after defeating other contestants by a wide margin. In his acceptance speech, the newly elected student leader pledged to provide inclusive and responsive leadership while protecting the rights and welfare of Nigerian students across the country. He also promised to strengthen student representation and engagement on issues affecting education and youth development nationwide. In the meantime, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) has temporarily suspended its no pay, no service enforcement directive against domestic airlines, over outstanding statutory remittances. The aviation regulator said the decision followed extensive consultations with stakeholders and concerns that strict enforcement could worsen financial pressures already confronting local operators. According to NCAA, rising aviation fuel prices, foreign exchange challenges, and increasing operational costs continue to affect airline stability across the sector. The authority, however, clarified that the suspension does not amount to debt cancellation or waiver, stressing that all affected airlines remain fully responsible for settling their obligations. The NCAA added that engagement with operators would continue to ensure debt recovery while protecting the stability of Nigeria's aviation industry. Turning to health now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) says the country has stepped up nationwide surveillance and emergency preparedness measures following renewed Ebola outbreaks in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a fresh public health advisory, the agency disclosed that although Nigeria has not recorded any confirmed Ebola case linked to the outbreak, the risk of importation remains high due to increased regional travel and cross-border movement. The NCDC stated that border communities, major transport hubs and international entry points have been placed under enhanced monitoring, while the National Emergency Operations Center has been activated on alert mode to coordinate response activities nationwide. The agency added that rapid response team and epidemiologists have been placed on standby for immediate deployment if required. The public health body also said collaboration has been strengthened with state ministries of health, port health services, and other government agencies to ensure early detection and rapid containment of any suspected case. The NCDC urged Nigerians to remain vigilant and report unusual illnesses promptly to health authorities. Chairman of the Alliance for Economic Research and Ethics, Dele Oye, has expressed concern over Nigeria's rising public debt, warning that the country's growing borrowing profile could place severe pressure on the economy. Oye stated that the Tinubu administration has borrowed over 65 trillion naira within 24 months, describing the figures as significantly higher than the total debt accumulated during Nigeria's first 55 years after independence. According to him, Nigeria's total public debt has now risen above 159 trillion naira, raising concerns about fiscal sustainability and future economic stability. He warned that unless urgent steps are taken to improve revenue generation and enforce fiscal discipline, the increasing debt burden could limit government spending on critical sectors and weaken economic growth. Oye, however, maintained that Nigeria still possesses the human and economic resources needed to overcome its financial challenges if properly managed. We take a pause here, and up next are news stories from the build sector. Do stay with us.
Are you getting ready for another big one? The largest housing show in Africa. 2 decades of relentless exhibition and conference. The 20th edition of the Africa International Housing Show, happening from the 13th to 18th of July 2026 at the prestigious Transco Hilton Hotel, Abuja, Nigeria. This premier event is Africa's largest housing and construction expo, attracting over 50,000 attendees in Africa and beyond, thereby giving room for developers, construction giants, financiers, home interiors, mortgage and microfinance banks, drawing from about 21 different countries of the world. Get ready to be part of history.
You're still watching Housing TV News, and now to the build sector. New reports by PAC Research have identified Nigeria's widening housing deficit as a major investment opportunity capable of generating trillions of naira in economic activities. The reports revealed that Nigeria currently requires about 800,000 new homes annually to meet growing population and urban housing demands. According to the findings, rapid urbanization and increasing demand for affordable housing continue to create strong opportunities for both local and foreign investors. The report also highlighted Nigeria's low mortgage penetration, which remains below 1% of gross domestic product, far lower than figures recorded in several other countries. Analysts say stronger housing finance reforms, public-private partnerships, and incremental housing models will be critical to unlocking their full potential. Meanwhile, estate surveying and valuation firm Mesris Ubosi LA and Company has called for urgent structural reforms in Nigeria's real estate sector. The firm said poor land documentation, weak regulation, and limited access to reliable property data continue to slow growth within the industry. Speaking ahead of the company's 35th anniversary, industry experts stressed that many Nigerians remain unable to convert landed assets into financial capital because of difficulties surrounding land titles and documentation. They also called on government authorities to simplify land registration processes and reduce delays associated with approvals and governors' consent procedures. The firm further warned against rising cases of quackery within the property agency business, urging stronger enforcement of professional standards to improve transparency and consumer confidence in the sector. Now on the foreign scene, Russia has launched a large-scale overnight attack on Ukraine, leaving at least 4 people dead and dozens injured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Kyiv was among the major targets as hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles struck several locations across the country. Authorities said residential building, a school, an opera house and a museum were damaged during the assault. Russia's defense ministry confirmed the strikes, describing them as retaliation for what it called attacks on civilian infrastructure by Ukraine, a claim Kyiv denies. The renewed escalation has drawn condemnation from several European leaders amid fears of further intensification of the conflict. And at least 20 people have been killed and several injured after an explosion targeted a train carrying military personnel in Pakistan's Balochistan region. The blast occurred near Quetta, where the train was transporting service personnel and their families returning home for the Eid celebration. Officials said several coaches derailed during the explosion, while emergency responders rushed victims to nearby hospitals. Authorities blamed the attack on the separatist Balochistan Liberation Army, describing the incident as a suicide bombing. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the attack, insisting the acts of terrorism would not weaken the resolve of the country. Security agencies have since intensified investigations and emergency operations in the affected area. And that's the most we can take on Housing TV News at the top of the hour. But just before we go, let's take another look at the top stories. Stakeholders applaud President Tinubu over new Joint Admission Matriculation Board Registrar. Nigeria's Civil Aviation Authority suspends enforcement against indebted airlines. Experts call for urgent reforms in property sector. And on the foreign scene, explosion targets train in Pakistan, leaves scores dead. For more news in the housing sector, subscribe to Housing TV Africa on YouTube and follow Housing TV Africa on all our social media platforms. Download the Housing TV Africa app and free TV app on Google Play Store and Apple Store. I'm Joseph Johnson. Thank you very much indeed for your company. See you again soon.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.